In this video, I share with you all of the ways that I deluxified my Dungeon Universalis game. But before we get into today's video, just want to share with you what the GGGG is for this month. Each month, Bob the Beholder picks some of my Patreon supporters to receive gratitude gifts. And for this month of September of 2022, we have these Archon Studios Pathfinder terrain boxes. The City of Absalom, which is all painted up, and these other two will be given to two other Patreon supporters. And $100 to go towards a crowdfunder campaign, which will be the winner's choice between these two different crowdfunders. Use the link below to go to my Patreon page if you're interested in getting in on that, as Bob the Beholder will be making his picks this coming Sunday, October 2nd. So one of my gaming friends and I did back the second printing of this Kickstarter. I think it was maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I don't quite remember. But it did finally deliver, and this is a beast of a game. I'm only going to give a brief first impressions because I didn't play the game enough to really have a strong opinion one way or the other. But I am excited about this game overall because it basically combines two of my most favorite genres into one, which is RPGs like Dungeons and Dragons or other dungeon crawlers, and combines those RPG elements with my second favorite type of game, which is tabletop wargaming. Now, I was a fan actually of D&D 4th edition because it really made the tactical nature of the battles really important. Although I was disappointed that at least the published modules had barely any story or plot to them. So when I heard about Dungeon Universalis that combines the RPG elements like D&D into more of a board game as well as the level of depth and strategy on the board, that sort of made me feel like that's the best of both worlds. As many others have said, if you do not like crunchy rule sets, definitely there are a lot more other simplified versions that you can get into. This game is a lot more complicated than even League of Dungeoneers. If you haven't seen my review video of that, check that out here. And if this is too much, you might want to actually look into League of Dungeoneers, which that game isn't simplified either, but I would say has a lot less rules than Dungeon Universalis, and there is a ton of rules. So I'm glad, actually one of my gaming buddies, he's really good at absorbing rules, so he's going to be studying it, and he's playing the Dark Lord, and hopefully I'll be able to pick up the rules as we go along. But as you can see from my setup here, this is a perfect game where I can use all of my 3D printed dungeons, and the 3D set that you see here is from Dragon's Rest, and I've produced a ton of videos about those, so go ahead and check them out here. Actually, I started off making this set for Hero Quest, and then made a couple other videos, especially with these that have a lot of height. I should have said earlier that there is a spoiler because this is a map layout of the first real adventure in the encounter book, with the exception of this raised area. I just sort of threw that together just so that you can see the variety of dungeons that you can have. And all of these monsters that are out here are not in the first scenario. So I just wanted you to see how cool it looks, how awesome it is to use a 3D dungeon set instead of using the tiles. I actually think the tiles are high quality, and if you ever wanted a tile set, this actually is a really good option. But for me, you know, the whole reason why I do dungeon crawlers and like them is because I can use my 3D board just like this. And I don't use the standees because I have hundreds of miniatures, so that isn't an issue for me. But if you don't have miniatures, the game does come with every standee that you're going to need. Before we move on, I just want to thank the sponsor of this video, LV427. I actually created a video using their files to make this awesome 3D sci-fi board for Nemesis, so go ahead and check that out here. But LV427 is constantly coming out with new tiles, new terrain tiles, and their stuff is really unique in the sense that they are creating rooms that you can put together. I've had a lot of success printing out their pieces. They require no supports, and if you use my painting tutorial, you can paint them up really quickly like I did. And the thing I love about them is that they really listen to the community and make adjustments and make different kinds of prints. So go ahead and use the link below to go to their website, check out all the awesome things that they have, or go to their Facebook page and see all of the future things that they are working on now. LV427 is actually going to offer up a $50 credit to their web store. That is going to be one of the GGGGs, not for this month, but for October of 2022. Now, I do think that organizing the game is a bit of a chore because although the box that comes with the base game does have slots for all of the cards, organizing all of the tiles and all the other chits and bits, you're sort of left on your own. It does provide a bunch of baggies, and so you could bag them. But I did find this insert file in Thingiverse. Again, there's going to be links in the descriptions below if you want to print them out yourself. The files are for free. Dark Duday created this really ingenious system. I love the bestiary box, which I feel like is a must if you want to fit that into the base box. So with all of these inserts, I am able to fit everything back into the box. Also, I love how his system organizes all of the tiles according to size, especially these ones that hold the 2x1s and the 1x1s, which keeps it all organized and sorted. Whereas if you threw them all into a bag, you'd have to go through there and search around. But I think this is an ingenious system as well with all of the tokens and how it slots in above all of the standees. Another must-have to 3D print is this player dashboard by Exceed Limits. You have so many cards with all of your abilities, all of your equipment, all of your spells, that having it sort of sitting flat on the table, you're going to overwhelm your table space with all of that. So I just love how this dashboard holds most of your cards upright so that it really is saving in on table space. And I also love that Exceed also did include all of the markers. And what I did was I printed them off on a piece of a full sheet sticker label and was able to print everything out and just stick them on here relatively easily. I just love how this is organized. I did have to print them in 2 separate pieces, and Exceed did split them up, and I just used E6000 to glue the pieces together, and they're holding really well. So this is a great option just to organize all of your heroes, all the things that they need. I also did opt to use my metal coins instead of the plastic ones. I feel like the plastic ones that come with this game are huge. And so I already had a bunch of metal games. Also, I recently did a video on how to 3D print coins for games, which I actually am using those coins for Oathsworn, but those would work really well too. And I'm sure there's a number of other options out there if you want to purchase them. The final player aid that I printed out, instead of using the wheels to track your VP, I did go ahead and just print out these that you can turn. Mostly because the ones that's provided in the box actually doesn't have a 0, it has a 10. Now it is easy enough just to use a black Sharpie and color in that 1 on the 10 so that it is a 0, but I think that's just a little bit strange, and I do like these wheels a little bit better because they just take up less space on the table. So if you do have this game or you're interested and buying in on the current Kickstarter, which I think by the time I post this video might only have less than a week left, you should definitely look into all of these different player aids as well as having a 3D dungeon. I just think that allows for so much more immersiveness. I'm excited about being able to finally use my set for a game like this moving forward. Go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe, and use the link below to go to my Patreon page if you want to get in on the GGGGs. And thanks again to LV427 for sponsoring this video. Check out the link to go to their website. Otherwise, happy printing, happy gaming. We'll see you next time.